Hello, I just want this to be a fast video to explain some of the theory behind how to do a proper DPS rotation, regardless of class, but I will be using my stem blade for the example on this one. So, let's get straight to it. First off, where you have your skills and why I've got my skills where they are. So I've got a basic pattern going. We've got a buff on 1, so this is Relentless Focus on a Nightblade. On my DK it's Rearming Trap. Slot 2 is a spammable or an armor debuff, so Surprise Attack. On my DK it's Noxious Breath. Rending Slashes, this is a damage over time from dual wield, it's the same on all of my stamina. Execute for my Nightblade is Killer's Blade, but on a DK this is another class based useful skill, so it's Venomous Claw. And 5 is always going to be Deadly Cloak on all my stamina builds. Then we have our ult, but that's just an ult. Our bow bar is Poison Injection, followed by a utility, so Reaching Strikes for a Nightblade, something like Molten Armaments, Igneous Weapons for a DK, etc. Razor Caltrops always on 3. Rearming Trap is on 4 for my Nightblade, but this comes under my damage over time or utility, so this is going to be a Flames of Oblivion on my stem DK. So this one and front bar slot 1 are interchangeable most of the time. And Endless Hail is always on 5. This is the same across all of my stem characters. This is always the pattern, so my muscle memory never has an issue in recalling what buttons I'm pressing. We'll quickly have a touch on how your keybinds are set up, so my advice is rebind things based around where your hand sits, so instead of having bar swap on the other side of the keyboard, put it under your thumb, so V or something like that, and make sure it's always convenient for you to access. That way you can speed up your rotation. And with that, let's quickly move on to how a rotation works. So, let's give you a really quick example of a non-thought out rotation. You mean you just press buttons and hope stuff happens. Put down a couple of dots and you go to town spamming stuff on this guy. So you're doing it with no real pattern and you just keep pressing buttons thinking you're doing damage. But in truth, you're recasting things too early and you're not casting things in time at all. So you're wasting damage and time and resources. So that generally is not how you want to do a rotation. So what you want to do with your rotation, which is now linked into the add-ons, is you want to have ability to keep track of them. So, if you want to keep track of your dots and etc., you will need an add-on. So, said add-on that I use is Render. Massively useful. It gives you a million options for what you're doing. Exceedingly customizable in terms of bar design and everything. So as you see, when I press skills, we get a countdown on how long is left. So we got 12 on leeching and 12 on relentless now. And those are what we use to keep track of our dots for the rotation. So let's do a rotation example again, but we'll keep in mind our buff tracker. Right, so that basic little rotation of a couple of bar swaps we went through and we kept all of our dots up, all of our buffs up. Which is far better than just spamming away with one skill. It's a lot more efficient on resources and is a lot better for your rotation. Now, to speed this up even more, you can factor in animation cancelling to your rotation. And what is animation cancelling? So, let's give you an example of that real quick. So let's do a few skills and not animation cancel them in a basic rotation. We're going to do this till Endless Hail's timer runs out. There we go. So that's all the back bar skills and our front bar main spammable weaved up until Endless Hail expires. So let's have a look how many surprise attacks we managed to get off. we managed to get 4 off in the time that Endless Hail had left to tick before it was time to recast. So let's repeat the process, this time though, with animation cancelling, and see how much we get done. Right, I'm fairly sure we got a few more surprise attacks off this time, even if I did miss one skill from the back or from the front bar. No matter how you see it, we will have gotten far more surprise attacks off. Oh, we've actually gotten only... no, that's the previous fight. On this fight, we managed to get 8 out, in comparison to this bar's 5. So at the very least, you'll get at least 2 more surprise attacks out before it's an Endless Hail recast, making animation cancelling extremely important for getting a decent DPS score out. So in effect, what animation cancelling does is adds time. So when you cast Endless Hail, you get 10 seconds. Then you cast this, but the animation takes up another second, and the same for this, and then you take up valuable time waiting for your animations to go off for everything else. But if you cancel it, you save time and speed things up. Now, quickly run through the type of animation cancelling there is. So we've got the basic bar swap cancelling, which is the easiest to pull off in my opinion. So siphoning attacks, let's just look at this thing's animation. And then if we bar swap cancel it, go straight to the other bar and can get going immediately. So, Relentless Focus. Let's block cancel Relentless Focus, shall we? The animation for it looks like this, and if I block cancel, it looks like that. It saves valuable time. Now, the other thing that you can do for animation cancelling is when you switch bars. Obviously you can animation cancel it with the bar swap, but it means you can basically cast something as you're switching bars and get off an extra skill. So I'll give you a quick overview of my rotation. So I always start off a fight with putting my buffs up, which would be Leeching Strikes, Relentless Focus, and Deadly Cloak. I start off every fight with Endless Hail, followed by a Light Attack, followed by Razor Cow Drops, followed by Light Attack, followed by Rearming Trap, followed by Light Attack, followed by In-Caps, followed by Light Attack, followed by Poison Injection, and then Bar Swap, and then I'll do another Light Attack, Surprise Attack. By then I normally have a Relentless Focus proc, so I'll fire that off. I'll do another Light Attack, and then I'll do Twin Slashes. And then it will be time to switch back to my back bar and rinse and repeat. So I'll be doing the rotation in a minute, so you can see it in action, or you can go and look at my DPS bars for my Stamblade build, and that will show it at full speed. I won't be talking much for this bit because I can't do my rotation and think at the same time because I'm useless. As you see there, quite a few of the skills have been cancelled in terms of animation, which basically means the rotation is faster paced. Now, I'm not going to say it's easy to do this. Animation cancelling is probably one of the hardest things to learn in this game, and it's something I'm not even that good at. So that's a brief overlook at why my skills sit where they do on the bars, why it is important to have your key bindings like close and based around one of your hands, what add-ons you need to actually do this properly, and a bit of logic behind a rotation and why animation cancelling in a rotation is a good idea. Couple of last tips for DPS build before I close this off. is, when you can, always use blue max health, max stamina food. On a stamina build, always avoid being a vampire if you can, because that's just gonna get you killed most of the time. Warrior Mundus is what I would recommend most of all, and the one that I can't stress enough. Base your build and gear around what you're doing. So, for example, the gear and build I always run is my Jack of all trades DPS stuff, which is Twice Fang plus VO plus Velodreth. It's not massively strong in an optimized group, but it is strong when you play alone or 4-man groups, and is fairly strong even with groups, so no matter what you do, you'll be in a decent situation. Alternatives for sets. Best alternative for this set is Spriggans. It does something very similar but not quite as good. VO there is no real alternative for, and alternative for Velodreth would probably be Crags. Alternative for Maelstrom Bow, Master Bow, if you don't have either of those, any random bow shall suffice. And if you don't have access to VO or its jewellery, simply do a 2-piece crafted weapons of a set that gives you max stamina, or weapon critical or weapon damage, follow that with agility jewellery, and then a 5-piece of Hundings, Spriggans, Briarheart, anything like that shall do you pretty well. That's a basic rundown of all the basics that you might need to play a stamina DPS character. If there's anything I missed or any questions you have, please let me know and I'll update this information in a future video. Thank you for watching.